Greetings, fellow Demon Slayers. This is Taimanin here today with another video. So, before getting into it, I am going to shill for my Discord server. It has been growing nicely lately, so again, I'm super grateful for all the people that have shown interest, joined up. It's been really active lately, which is really cool, like a lot of conversations going on. More than normal, so definitely traffic has picked up. I'm more just bringing it up again because there's still new players coming into the game. So yeah, if they don't know the server exists, I do have one. We mostly talk about AT. There's a Honkai section as well. So if you're interested, the link will be in the description. So you can come, hang out, get tips about the game, give tips about the game, or just shoot the breeze and have a good time. So, moving away from that, what I want to do today is I want to just address like a question I've been getting a lot. Like I get whispers, I get comments on videos, which characters are must-have. So, who do I think is someone that you should absolutely have? Now, I want to preface by saying I do think every character has something that makes her viable in some way. But there are obviously characters who just kind of do a lot more than the others on average. So, I don't want people to feel bad, like, for example, someone who uses Shiranui. Like, do I think she's a must-have? No. But she does do stuff well. Like, she's not a bad character. She's just overshadowed by stuff the other characters can do. And I don't think a character should be, like, ostracized or boycotted simply because they move slower. So in Shiranui's case, it may take her, like, what, 20 to 30 seconds longer in some cases to clear a map. That doesn't mean she's bad, she still clears content. Like, I don't get game overs with her when I decide to throw gear on her and play her, because right now she's basically like naked, as you can see. She's not really wearing anything. But outside of that, when I do use her, she does fine when I feel like playing her. But I don't think she's a must-have, just for the reason that she doesn't like shine. Characters that do that, so I guess the first one we'll look at would be Emily. Like, everyone knows it. I guess new players may not yet, but Emily's just kind of a monstrosity right now. I hear rumors that Kurenai, when she comes out, she's going to be like a counter to Emily. I do hope that's the case, or at least that she's like more of an Emily killer than other stuff. Because right now, like, Major's the major Emily killer. Major's the major. But yeah, she's like the big Emily killer just because Emily is a machine and Major can kind of bonk her on the head and tell her to sit down. But the things that make Emily really good, looking at her skills, for starters, she has a natural crit steroid in her Aegis tackle. 20% critical rate for 10 seconds, and the cooldown says 14, but by the time you're done leveling all her skills, it's closer to 12 seconds, maybe even 11. So that just simply means that she almost has a 100% up rate, or uptime rather, up rate. She almost has 100% uptime on her critical rate buff. So that's just going to pair with Axe Impact. Because this skill literally deals 250% more damage when you crit. And I've seen it crit for 200k, I've said this multiple times. And when it's spinning upwards, like, I'll just let the animation play. When it's doing that wind-up animation, each of those hits. And those do about 50k consecutively. And then the final hit, where it ground smashes, knocks down, and then it does like 100k plus to 200k, depending on how geared your Emily actually is. And then the skill innately cools itself down by 20%. So by the time you're done, like, are your character skills that... Oh my god, I'm like getting tongue-tied. By the time this is applied, and the cooldown is applied for the actual skill itself, she's going to be like literally using this on almost a 10-second cooldown, and as opposed to 18. So that just, literally, it's like more damage, it's like, than anything really in the game. The only skills that really stack up are Renko's Meteor, and it still out DPS's that, because that's one big hit, it's not a bunch of consecutive hits into a big hit. Like, her axe is basically just an ult. That's the best way I can describe it. Obviously, you have to build her for that, because it does scale off of melee, so Her attack stat isn't really what's going to matter, but you'll need things that affect melee critical. Which another reason Spica would be best in slot for Emily right now is because her passive gives 12% melee crit, which just directly affects the axe, and then of course it gives critical to ranged attacks. Now, Spica obviously isn't accessible, and I wouldn't run Renko over Faust on Emily because Emily is at the end of the day a ranged attacker. But even then, if you throw on some well-rolled crit Magatamas on her, you're using her Tamari or you're using her critical super rare weapon, which would be the Magi MK2, then yeah, your Emily's gonna see some pretty beefy crits off of her axe even without a Spica equipped. And I guess, like, without Spica, you could splash in Renka, it wouldn't really hurt, because then that would just give you the critical rate on the axe anyway. Like, you could run Renka, Faust, and Homer on Emily and be fine. Just because that one melee skill is so powerful that it doesn't matter, like, she's gonna kill stuff. So yeah, like, with her auto attack, that's obviously amazing for PvE. Then her axe impact is great in PvE, all you have to really do is know how to aim it, and it's good in PvP because 100k damage is a lot of damage. 200k damage kills someone in one shot. And with things like Aegis Tackle, again, like, it's just a almost permanent crit steroid adding to her crit rate. So she just has a really good, like, synergy with her red build. It's freaking amazing. So yeah, that's a must-have character. Like, those are the type of things that would make a character a must-have. She's good in PvE, she's good in Arena, she's great in time attack, like I get my fastest times with her. Obviously I don't beat the hackers because their times are impossible, but, you know, that's enough about Emily. We all know she's good. We all know she's a must-have. Leaving her alone, who else would I say is a must-have? Well, my next choice would be Murasaki. Now, I don't have Murasaki, but I can tell you now, she's a must-have because of freaking Tentacle Anchor, man. I wouldn't run it in PvE, but in PvP, her Tentacle Anchor is literally a perma-stun. Like, if I ever get her, because I do want to get her, it's just, you know, you guys know the whole spiel. I'm saving gems for other stuff, and her and Sue will come later. But Tentacle Anchor, how it works is I believe it's on a 6-second cooldown. And when you have a green supporter as her main, it stuns the enemy. But it's not like a stun like when you snare the enemy and they can still hit you. It's like this ridiculous, it's almost a time stop. It's like she's literally stealing their time from them. Like if you were going to Kojenko them with a Sagi and then do a Munika, it's borderline like they move like that. They don't move. And they're stuck that way for 6 seconds or close to it. It's long enough that you can pretty much almost have them 100% stunned after you get her cooldown maxed off her skills. So with that being said, for someone who wants to do well in Arena, yes, Murasaki is a must-have. Once you build her up and you have that setup, she's going to basically stun lock one of their players, and when she's geared enough to do damage, like, that's it. They're just going to get stun locked. She could probably sweep a whole team, like, albeit it won't be like Emily where she's one-shotting people, but she's basically going to chip away at them without getting hit because they're locked. There's stuff that can beat the build, of course, but there's not much you can do if it connects. She's going to stop you. She has abilities that knock down. If she uses a knockdown ability while they are stun locked, then they will be knocked over as well. So they're still susceptible to other CC during the stun lock. So yeah, to me, that makes her definitely a must-have, definitely a worthwhile character. Now, getting out of here. Other characters I think are must-haves, because I don't have like all the information on Murasaki, but Tentacle Anchor is the big thing. Like, I've watched enough gameplay, I've watched enough streams, it's freaking broken, man. Like, as far as her having the stun lock and Emily having a one-hit KO, basically if you build into her axe, these two characters alone in Arena will just give you an easy time, because they're gonna deal with two characters, like, or sometimes in some cases 3 characters. They're gonna be able to take care of a team just with these two. Hell, Emily could take care of a team alone, and I've seen Morisaki handle teams alone herself. It all depends on your build and setup, of course. Now, let's see. Must-haves, must-haves. Let's look at the starter characters, because these are characters everyone's going to get right away. So, who should you choose? If I were to start Action Taimanin over, like I chose Asagi, if I were to start over, would I still choose Asagi? Yes. Or I would choose Yukikaze. What ended up happening is I chose Asagi and I brought Sakura early with free-to-play gems. Now, I don't think Sakura is a must-have, but I'm not going to sit here and say she's not good. She's very good in content like PvP. Her spin does do well. It's just that her AI is a bit stupid. She does okay in PvE. She's really consistent, but she's not as fast as the other girls. But as far as like survival and consistency, she's fine. But we'll leave her alone. We're looking at the must-haves. I say Asagi is a must-have simply because Kojenka is insanely broken. Taimanin art on her is insanely broken because she has Kojenka. And then depending on whether you're running red or green, you'll just simply use her Munika or her Renjenka. Munika is basically like you use it on an enemy while Kojenka's up and there's time stopped in place, and then you can beat their face in with Taimanin art. Renjenka is pretty much Cervantes Soul Calibur stabs for big damage. So that just depends on if you want to run red or green. You can also use Zatsujenka as well. Some people say they get good DPS with that. But I prefer the Munika just because if it can't move, it can't kill you, and you can kill it with little contest, removing the need for abilities like this when her Taimanin art will do for damage. So yeah, that automatically makes her a must-have. Kojenka's ridiculous, guys. Oh, let me just do this. Yay, she's done. I never did that. Anyway, moving on from Asagi, is Yuki a must-have? Yes, Yuki is a must-have because she's a ranged character. Ranged is really counterintuitive to Action Taimanin overall as a game. Like, you'll find that you'll have an easier time with Emily or even Yuki, just simply because they don't have to get close, they don't have to deal with issues Sakura and Shiranui have, and even Asagi and Renko, where if they get hit, they get cut off. Morisaki doesn't deal with that issue because she has really extreme hyper armor, where the only things that are going to stop her from doing her rotation are things like explosions or insanely heavy knockdown hits. But outside of those, yeah, Morisaki has hyper armor, she won't get knocked around. But characters like Sue, Shiranui, Renko, Asagi, and Sakura, you have to kind of like be careful about how you engage, because if you get hit, it will cancel their auto attack or basic attack. Asagi has it a little bit easier because of Kojenka, which makes her a must-have. So she can slow the enemy down and you can easily dodge out of stuff. Sakura has it a bit rough with getting knocked around because she has low range, and she can even get knocked out of her spin, which is unfortunate because then it resets her cooldown. Shiranui has it the same way. Her AoE is really powerful, but she's easily knocked out of it, same as her basic attacks. Sue, I'm hearing like so many bad things. Like, people say they're doing well with her, people say she's good, but the bad far outweighs the people saying she's good, so like, I've heard some people go so far as to say Sue is even worse than Shiranui, if you can believe it, because Shiranui was our resident weakest character. I'll need to just test it myself. Like I said, it's all word of mouth. No one's given me like too much of an in-depth breakdown. Like, no one's given me something like Denial had given me yesterday as far as Obero. I don't have information on Sue like that to really tell you guys why, but the big thing I hear is her DPS is low, and she has to be so ridiculously close she gets knocked around. But back to Yukikaze. Yes, she's a must-have, because I rambled on for a bit, as I always do, guys. But yeah, her just being ranged is counterintuitive to the whole game. Her Ryun skill for PvE is ridiculous, with some crit stacked on her, because you'll get, like, you see it's like a multi-hit skill, like each of those spins does, like, rapid damage when she's going around like that. And on critical, with a decent build, you're going to get like consecutive 30k to 30k crits just back to back to back. Because I find when the skill crits, it starts to multi-crit. So I don't know if the skill like registers one critical during and then just carries it to the end, but it pretty much becomes a vortex of critical hits when you do it. Excuse me. Now, outside of that, she's really good in PvE simply because when you get her skins built out, Yuki's skins give her the highest base attack stat. Like it's not showing right now because she's not wearing any red Magatamas. But Yuki and Sakura, as of right now, are tied for the highest base attack if you have like a bunch of their skins because their skins give a crap load of attack. So she multiplies really well with Major in that regard for PvP. Or even if you clear a room and then the boss is left, and yeah, Major's probably going to kill the boss too at Yukikaze. But we're looking at PvP because that's what Major's for. It's almost a free kill. And with how Yuki works with Fry 10 and Rakurai, Rakurai gives a nice stun, Fry 10 slows them, Rai main knocks up, and while they're slowed by Fry 10, she gets a decent air juggle, which she can also chain Major into. So, definitely, must-have character. I think if you were starting the game today, or if you just started the game and you watched this video and you pick Sakura, yeah, I think it would do you some good to just re-roll and go for Asagi or Yukikaze in the case that Sakura isn't your waifu. Like, they're probably a stronger start, definitely. Yukikaze, for example, I was literally playing hard mode with her by level 20. Emily, I was playing hard mode with her by level like 15 or 16. Some players I know were playing hard mode with Emily at level 10. So yeah, that's how good these characters can be. Asagi, like, hard mode was really easy to start playing again because of Kojenka. Now the last character we want to look at, since I kind of gave a rundown of everyone, even though I wanted to talk about the must-haves, is Renko. Yes, Renko's a must-have. Meteor OP, Wind Slash OP, or Wind Slice. Her basic attack is OP, she literally Virgils them. If you get freaking Kieran with Emily, or wow, freaking Kieran with Renko, Kieran is OP. I said OP so much my brain defaulted to Emily. But yes, Kieran is an OP weapon for Renko. Renko's a must-have character. Definitely if you start the game, like, if I were to start, like, over right now, I'd probably pick Yukikaze as my starter. And then my first 1,000 or 1,200 gems would either go towards Emily or towards Renko, depending on how my tickets went. Like, if I landed on a Tamari, I'd probably pick up Emily. If I somehow got a Kieran, I'd probably pick up Renko. I'd probably re-roll to get those items. Either Tamari Uta, Kieran, or like, what's the item called? Greek Fire, that's it. Or either Greek Fire for Yuki. And yeah, I definitely like get these three going as my starter characters or my starter team. My PvP team right now, personally, is Emily, Yuki, and Renko. And I'm gonna test Asagi. Like, I'll probably do like a lazy man arena with her and just see how she does. But I already know Asagi's good in arena because I have lost to her. Like, when I used to go for top 100, there's some nasty Asagis out there. But I've given explanations. I said who I think is a must-have. I'll give you the TLDR. Emily is a must-have. Yuki is a must-have. Renko is a must-have. And Asagi is a must-have. And Murasaki. Right, that one's a must-have. So you literally have 5 characters out of what? We have 3, 6... We have 8 right now. Koronai will be number 9. I hear Koronai is a must-have, but I'll talk about her more when we get her. As of right now, 5 of the characters you can't go wrong. Like, Shiranui, she just needs a buff, man. She's not... It's not that she's terrible, she's just not as good. And Sakura kind of suffers from the same thing. She's not terrible, she's just not as good as the must-have characters. Sue, I'm hearing so much negative about her, it's almost depressing because we waited so long for her. Like, she's been in the game since the beginning, and apparently she's really bad. But yeah, I'm gonna collect these, end the video here. If you found it helpful or informative, please like and subscribe, as it really does help me out. I do appreciate, like, everyone that's been watching, regardless of the ads. Like, the view duration's actually gone up, even with the ads, which is really cool. So yeah, like, it really helps me out. Like, if you guys sit through the ads, great. Like, that just helps support the channel, like, without even having to do anything. It's just 30 seconds of your life, so I appreciate people are watching them and helping me with the monetization. And it's crazy, like, that the view duration has jumped up since I've gotten partnered with YouTube. So thanks again, guys. Like, your support means everything. And with that, yeah, I'll end the video. If you guys go ahead, you take care. You have a great rest of your day. May you have good luck in your gotchas in the arena. And I'll catch you guys tomorrow. Later.